Okay, today I'm going to be tying the copper john, and this is just a very classic pattern. It doesn't really mimic any one particular mayfly or bug, but it generally looks like just a lot of different nymphs. So start my thread and just loose wraps, just getting it towards the back. Gives me a little base that I can bite the rest of my material on. So the first thing I'm going to tie in, this will be my tail, it's going to be biots. So I have a couple of biots here, and the way I personally like to tie these in is I personally like to just kind of line these up about how I want them to be. Just take your time with it. So that's about the length I want them to be right there. They're about half of the length of the body. Alright, so I got them like that. I'm going to switch it over to my other hand. And I still have that little X right there. Put that right on top of the hook. A couple of loose wraps. And then right here, go ahead and just kind of spread these out. Make sure they're positioned the way I want them to be positioned. You can separate them so they have a nice little X to them. Alright, so that's about how I want them to be. Nice little X. I see one of them looks like it's kind of a little cut off. That's alright. Nice and splayed out. You can always adjust them later on. Go ahead and wrap those in up the body. Cut your thread. Alright, we're back in action. Go ahead and cut those off. And now I come all the way to the front. We're going to tie in our wire. Okay, and now some people tie this where they actually don't even tie in the wire. I personally do like to have it tied in. I don't think it's too big of a deal. Now I'm just building up this taper because with this material, with tying a copper john, the copper's not going to build up any body. So if you want it to have a taper to it, which you really do with the copper john, you have to create that taper. Okay, has a nice little taper we've got going on. We're going to start wrapping our thread. And as you do this, just make sure that your thread wraps are really tight to one another. You don't want any gaps in this. So you can actually even keep like a little bit of backwards pressure. Alright. Tie that off right there. So capture that wire. And then just helicopter it right off. Next step, we're going to tie our flash in right up on top. Okay, so I got my flash tied in right up on top there. Don't worry too much about those thread wraps. So that is tied in. The next thing I am going to tie in here is going to be, this is turkey feather. So that's going to be the wing case underneath that flash. I'm going to tie in, this is peacock, and I'm going to do 2 strands of it. Okay. Go ahead. Start wrapping our peacock on here. Doing a nice thick head to it. Alright, tie that off right behind the bead. Pull this turkey quill right over the top, tie that in so you can see straight over the top of it. And then pull this flash forward, same thing right up on top. Alright, pull that back, cut it off as tight as you can. So we're looking pretty good. We need one final thing on here. We need some little legs in the front just to finish this off. Alright, so for the legs, you just cut a little notch, the very tips off of a mallard flank, and then you can pull back whatever fibers you don't need. We can set this in on the side and we'll get the legs. Alright. Just take that, put it right along the sides. Don't worry too much about the length right now. There's just 2 loose wraps to go ahead and trap it in. Make sure it's kind of where we want it to be on either side. Alright, and then go ahead and pull forward till we've got it to the length we want, which is going to be just barely really longer than the thorax. Go ahead and tie it in. Chop this as tight as you can. I've got those where we want them. Go ahead and just whip finish. There you have it, the Copper John.